welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we are going to be discussing Love is Blind. So usually I don't do any hot goss for this episode, for usually Netflix episodes. But before we go into the episode, I do want to talk about the poll that I did on Twitter, with respect to who do you think Jessica could be currently dating. Now, the men that were up for option was Vince, Trevor, Ariel, and Dion. Now, if you don't remember how some of these people look, because most of those people we didn't actually see, we only saw Trevor, obviously. I definitely had pictures up on my socials to kind of help with, who do you think that is, that she could be dating, because we got some context clues as to kind of the men that she likes, and maybe she found someone kind of similar to that she was connecting with in the pods as well, to Jimmy. So here's what the results are. Now, I didn't have many votes for this one, unfortunately. There's usually a lot more to work with other polls that I've done in the past, but I did have five votes on Twitter, and 20% think it could have been Vince. Another 20% believed it could have been Ariel, with the remaining 60% being Trevor. That's interesting. That is interesting. Personally, though, I think that is probably not the person, only because of how she reacts to Trevor with respect to the situation with the girlfriend. So I don't think it's him, honestly. But I do like that. I do like it. Dion got no votes. He got 0 votes. But I get it. I get it. But we don't need to keep talking about that anymore. Let's just get into the reason that we are here. This is it, guys. This is the final countdown. Love is Blind, Season 6, Episode 13, the reunion. So, I guess you're also wondering, where's Sharon? Well, unfortunately, Sharon couldn't come on to the final episode only because of her family is currently renovating, so it would have been too confusing and probably loud for her to record. So it's just me. But let's get into it. So Nick and Vanessa are in the pods, and they're kind of being cute, and Nick is like, well, would I be able to lift you up at a music festival? A la that asshole. And he says, if I heard that voice, I would have definitely boinked you or some shit. But we are actually at the Love is Blind set. We're actually there. And not only are we there, but we're also going to be having some alumni from previous seasons as well. So hopefully I can remember everybody that we saw. So we have Alexa and Brennan. We have, because I didn't write everybody down. We have Alexa and Brennan. We have Tiffany and Brett. We have Chelsea and Kwame. We have, we had, Micah and Izzy, and we had Gigi with Blake. I feel like there was definitely more people that we had. Oh, we had, Colleen and Matthew, or Matt, whatever the hell. And yeah, so we will touch base with them to some extent. I probably don't talk about everybody because I really don't care about everybody, honestly. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with who we kind of see. And the reunion, the actual set of the reunion is at the reveal side of the set, which I actually think is kind of cool. I actually like this idea. And we also have an audience. So there we go. So let's get into this and let's get our EpiPens ready. Thank you, Jessica. So, Amy and Johnny's families are very close. They hang out with each other. They talk to each other on their own. So, yeah, they do. They're good. Gigi actually mentions to us at this point that she was actually going to be on The Perfect Match. Then she met Blake. And then obviously she did not come on The Perfect Match. Gigi is just an amazing person. I'm happy she found someone. And she did not need to be a part of this anymore. Because can you imagine? Oh my, why? Oh my God. That would have been it would have been dramatic. It would have been dramatic. Sure. Because we had what's his face and what's her face, who she accused of him cheating on her with. Oh my God, it would have been perfect. But, you know, things happen for a reason. She wasn't meant to be there. And Damien, that's his name. Damien, and I can't remember her name. Francesca. There we go. I knew it was going to come to me. But she wasn't clearly meant to be there. She didn't need that extra drama in her life with having, you know, Damien there and Francesca there and we're exploring that together. It would have been just so horrible for her. So I think it was definitely happened the way it was meant to be. And now she's happy. As we know, she is pregnant with her son. I think it was a son, right? So they're good. So let's talk about Jeremy and the nonsense with Jeremy right now, okay? He is currently seeing someone. And then guess what, guys? I don't think it was any fucking surprise to any of us, but it's fucking Sarah Ann. Now, for me, honestly, after kind of finding out some stuff, which I did talk about in a previous episode from an ex-girlfriend who he met back when he was in Florida before they moved to South Carolina. North Carolina. Sorry, guys. I can't look at Jeremy the same way without knowing that piece of information and thinking this guy shouldn't be around anyone who's a woman because clearly this guy's fucking violent. If you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely go back to, I don't remember which episode that was on. I can't remember which episode that was on, but his ex-girlfriend on TikTok came forward, and that you can find the videos that she posted on Ginger Snaps. I think there's an underscore somewhere in there, and you can find that. But I can't look at him the same way anymore. Anyway, Jeremy and Sarah Ann are living together. They've been together for a year. Laura is here, unfortunately, via Zoom because she currently lives in Barcelona. So that's why she's here via Zoom. So let's talk about the third woman, the woman that came to our attention from her mother, that they were together when he applied. If you remember this, he says, it's not true. Of course, he would say that. He said what happened was he had applied to be on the show when he was on his own already. He wasn't living with her. They had broken up at this point. And that's what he's saying. Now, that it could be very well true, but I personally don't believe anything that comes out of this guy's mouth. We saw how he handled himself with Sarah Ann after the breakup with Laura, right in front of her fucking face. So I don't trust a fucking word this guy says. And I guarantee, like, he probably still was with her. Or they're at least maybe in this weird limbo where maybe he should have not jumped on to Live the Blind. But anyway. Both Laura and Sarah Ann both confirmed that yes, he did tell them that he was engaged previously, because he says that I told everybody that I was, maybe having a close connection with, that he was engaged previously. So they do confirm, yes, he was being honest about that. So then we get into the whole Sarah Ann meeting up with her, lying about the location thing. Why lie about the location? Why would you do that? Because clearly you've shared your location. Clearly, Laura can look back at your location and see where you weren't, you know? Um, and he says, I didn't intentionally lie, but you did fucking lie. That's besides the point. You did fucking lie. You said that you never went to Sarah Ann's house, but you did. Even if you didn't go inside of her house, which I still don't necessarily believe, but maybe you didn't go into her house, whatever. That doesn't mean anything. You still went to her house and lied to Laura about it. So that's a lie. You didn't intentionally lie. Come on. And Laura says, listen, if I didn't wake up when I did, he never would have told me that he A, went to Sarah Ann's house, B, even talked to Sarah Ann, and C, just she never would have known, right? Which is true. Both Sarah Ann and Jeremy, she feels, curated together their lie that they talked about. Oh, this is what we're going to tell everybody, which I think is true. That's why I do believe something happened. Now, I know the debate is, did they or didn't they? I personally, because my cold heart thinks that they probably did have sex. That's just where I go to. Only because they had this really serious sexual connection in the pods that I wouldn't have put it past them to have had sex that night. But I know a lot of people don't think that they had sex that night. I think some people think they only kissed that night. Either way we go, something happened that night. Even if it wasn't sex, they definitely damn well kissed. I'm sorry, you can't convince me otherwise. So that's why I'm with Laura, that they definitely came up with something that they can both agree on to tell not only Laura, but everybody else that is involved in this process. Their stories were too perfect. Something had to slip. I'm sorry. Unless they planned this together. That's what I think. And I stand by it. Jeremy says when he got home that night, he stayed downstairs. I guess that's to not wake her because he said she was sleeping. And when she woke up the next morning, or later that morning, was when he went straight upstairs to tell her what happened. Laura says that's not true, and I believe her. There's no way in fucking hell. The man stayed downstairs hoping that he could have gotten away without telling her what happened, not telling her the truth. You did not do what you said. You didn't go upstairs and tell her, oh my God, by the way, I saw Sarah Anna, this is what happened. No, you didn't, because we literally saw you on camera, Laura having to get it out of you what happened that night. So no, you didn't tell her anything. But Laura says, no, that's not true. You stay downstairs. That's evident. We know this. But I had to come downstairs and basically confront you. You didn't tell me anything on your own, basically. Right. And she says, I was waiting for you. I was waiting for you. You weren't coming home. I was awake waiting for you. And he says, no, you weren't. You weren't awake. You were waiting for me. And she's like, no, I guess I should have been downstairs on that fucking front porch waiting for you to come the fuck home. Sorry, I didn't do that. But she was fucking waiting for you. And the thing is, you don't know if I was asleep because you never fucking went upstairs. That to me, and I think to any other woman, proves you're fucking hiding. You're hiding down there like a little bitch because you knew you did something wrong. That's all there is really to it. Kwame's face during this whole interaction, by the way, is fucking gold. His face is what we're all thinking. And Laura then calls him a clown, says that he has never taken accountability, which is true. He has never taken accountability. Even now, he's not taking accountability. Even though online, which I'm not sure if his comments about this whole situation was there, Anne, with the boat situation, or the boat, the lake date, or whatever the fuck. I don't know if that was before or after filming this tell-all, but I'm going to assume it was before they filmed the tell-all. You're still not fucking taking accountability, even though you want us all to believe you're taking accountability even just a week or two ago. You're not fucking taking accountability. You're full of shit, right? Sarah Ann says, funny you're calling him a clown, saying I was a pick-me girl. Bitch, you are a pick-me girl. You went to a man who didn't fucking choose you. Let's put Jeremy aside for a second. You went to a man who was fucking engaged to somebody else who didn't fucking pick you in the pods, and you went and you messaged him being like, oh my God, like, if it doesn't work out, like, I'm here, pick me. You're a pick me girl. So own your shit that you're a pick me girl and stop your bullshit. You're a homewrecker. You're a bitch. You are so many other things that I could say, but I'm not going to say it. But you are a problem. And you are the reason why women have to basically hold on to their men for dear life to make sure that they're not going to stray off to be with someone like you. Mind you, if a man wants to do that though, like Jeremy, if you want to do that though, go ahead and do it and see how that works for you, because it's not going to work. I give these guys maybe one more year, because they're already fucking rocky. They already admit in the year they've been together, they've been on and fucking off. They're never gonna work. She has no fucking self-respect. He has no respect for women to begin with. As I've said earlier already, you are a pick-me girl and he is the one that's an idiot. Enjoy each other. So don't sit here acting like you're not a pick-me girl and you're not the biggest clown on the fucking stage. You and Trevor. We'll get to him in a bit. But I can't remember who said this, but I think this was to, maybe this could have been Sarah and to Laura, I can't remember, but she said, you had your moment. You're happy. I think it was Laura to Sarah Ann said that. She said, you had your moment. Now you're happy. And again, I have to point this out. Kwame is giving me life through this whole thing. She tells Vanessa, Sarah Ann, that they did not kiss that night. Bullshit. And I think Vanessa and Nick both think this is bullshit too, so it's fine. Sarah Ann says, I don't care what they did, or sorry, back up. Laura says, I don't care what they did. They are both disgusting. She never felt that they were actually she never felt that they were never actually not going to get married. She said they always checked in with each other. They were always 80% or somewhere around there. They never went below 80%. So she never thought that they were never going to get married until this happened. And yeah, she's like, he met my family, and not even like 24 hours later, he's telling Sarah Ann that he was going to break up with me. And I believe her 100%. Then we get a never before seen clip between Sarah Ann and Laura at the lake that day. Are you fucking kidding me? Why didn't we see this before? Why are we waiting till now? Now, I understand the whole shock value and everything like that, but I literally was thinking, why didn't Sarah Ann and Laura talk to each other? I believe even me and Sharon were talking about why didn't they not talk to each other? Because that feels like it's a shit move on Sarah's part. And I feel like Laura should be confronting this bitch. Like, why didn't this happen? Y'all, it happened. So why didn't they show us this before? I'm mad. But anyways, here it is. We're finally seeing it. And basically with this, Sarah Ann basically tells Laura, I just figured that, you guys weren't married or anything yet, so that I could talk to him. And, yeah, like, I just figured, like, now is the time. Like, I didn't want to do it before you guys, like, after you guys got married, I just figured, whatever. Bitch. I'm sorry. I'm not married to my partner. Okay? I'm not legally married to my partner. But you damn well best believe that man is mine and I will fight a bitch. You got it? Like, listen to me. If any woman's coming to, listen, if any of his ex-girlfriends are coming to him and messaging him saying, you know what, I really need closure. Like, I'm sorry, but you had your fucking closure when he said, bye, bitch. Don't come to my man trying to get some form of fucking closure. Unless something happened traumatically and that happened in the beginning of your relationship, then, or beginning of my relationship with him, then fine. I'll give some grace to that and that's okay. I have no issues with that. But if you think between now and when the man says I do, you have a right to say, well, if it doesn't work out, like I'm here, then I have a problem with you. Are you for? I can't. She apologizes to Laura for her part. She didn't mean to send anything to be vindictive. That's bullshit. Yes, she did. Laura says, I didn't feel the message was appropriate. She says that to her. She's like, I didn't feel like it was a great idea for you to fucking do that, you stupid dumb bitch. But he was the one that was supposed to protect me and protect my heart. And, you know, it was his job to do that, not yours, which is true. That is 100% correct. It is, who spelled his name like that? It is his job, Jeremy's job, to protect Laura because Laura is the one that he is with. You know, not Sarah Ann. Sarah Ann's not with her. She doesn't owe her anything. However, there's still that fine line of, but you fucking know that he's with her. And yet you don't say, I just want the closure and I want to end this chapter. You're literally saying, okay, well, on the one hand, if I can get that, that's great and we can end the chapter. But on the other hand, if it doesn't fucking work out with Laura, then I'm here. Pick me, bitch. Pick me. Fucking, she's sad. She's a fucking sad woman, personally. But anyways. And Laura tells her that Sarah Ann would not have been okay, so here we go. Yeah. I'm just trying to remember what the fuck I wrote, guys. Laura tells Sarah Ann in this moment too, in this clip, that Jeremy told her that if she said no to Jeremy, he still wouldn't have picked Sarah Ann. He would have left by himself. Laura, that is bullshit. And you fucking well damn well know it's bullshit. Of course he would have gone back to Sarah Ann and said, oh my God, wait, hold on. Can I back up? Can I he would have pulled a Zach. Mind you, I'm sorry to say that because at least Zach and Bliss, they were meant to be. He was never supposed to be with what's her face. He was never supposed to be with her, Irina. He was never supposed to be with her. So that was how it was supposed to go. But he would have put a Zach. He would have literally gone back and said, oh my God, Sarah Ann, she said no to me. And you know what? For that reason, I think you are the one I'm supposed to be with. And Sarah Ann would have accepted the scraps that were given to her. She did initially, if you know, essentially choose the scraps that were given to her. God, I can't. So yeah, she basically says like she doesn't believe in a word that Jeremy says and says like Sarah Ann shouldn't believe a fucking word that he says. You know, saying that he was being a clown, he was being a robot through this process. He was just kind of going through the motions, which I do probably think the same. She asks, you know, so she also says that he has only really cared about his image, and now he looks even worse than Jimmy. That is what Jeremy told her, that now he looks even worse than Jimmy. Wow, because Jimmy comes for his ass in about 2 seconds. So, Jimmy says, well, shit. And he mentions that, listen, me and Jeremy were kind of in the same boat. They were kind of both in this love triangle, trying to figure out which way they were going to go. And he says, listen, it was not an easy decision for me to make between Chelsea and Jessica. He cared for both of them. And he says, even when I did make the decision, I was very upset, was not doing good, wasn't doing well, bitch. He was just not doing good with what he was about to do or he had already done, whatever. And he says, everyone rallied around me to even fucking Trevor rallied around him to comfort him, to basically say, you're going to be okay through this, whatever. And he says, Jeremy was the only fucker in the whole place that literally said, well, I'm going to sleep well tonight knowing that Jimmy is going to be the villain. Wow. And you know what? That's really funny because, yes, did Jimmy get some hate initially? Absolutely. Is Jimmy like the stand-up guy? No. None of them. None of these guys were. But Jimmy still came out on top, not being the most hated. No. That's reserved for both Trevor and Jeremy. If anything, maybe even more so Jeremy than Trevor. Because with Trevor coming on stage, even though he got reamed the fuck out, you can tell he sincerely feels ashamed. He feels embarrassed. You could see that on his face. Like, even though I love seeing a man get reamed the fuck out because I think it's deserved in Trevor's case and Jeremy's case, you can actually tell he's so fucking uncomfortable on the stage and wanted to leave as quickly as humanly possible. Jeremy sitting there all arrogant and shit, thinking he did nothing wrong. So you, sir, even hoping that you wouldn't come out of this being the villain, ultimately are the villain. Actually, I feel like you're even more of a villain than even Sarah Ann is, but both of you get the top spot. So yeah, that's basically how that went. Jimmy's kind of, you could tell, even though he's kind of like, I'm over it now, like whatever, you could tell he's actually pretty upset that his name is still being dragged into Jeremy's mouth. And it's just like, can you get it out? Like, I don't want my name there. Like, fuck you, basically. So basically now we're just going to kind of talk about, kind of Sarah Ann and her relationship with the women. 80 says, before we even get to that though, before we kind of get to that, Vanessa kind of asks AD, do you think, like, why did you get involved in all of this? You have a conversation with Sarah Ann. Do you think that she's sorry about what happened? Blah, blah, blah. AD says, no. What is she sorry about? She ultimately says sorry to everybody, yet goes and she dates Guy, who everyone is accusing her of trying to break up his relationship with Laura. So, no, what is she fucking sorry about? So, whatever, right? Sarah Ann says, I don't talk to the women. And Chelsea says, yeah, maybe because you unfollowed all of us, the women, and then followed our fiancés. So this bitch is just trying to infiltrate everybody's relationship. And I swear to God, she will break up with him because I feel like she just wanted screen time. I think she would have gone after any man in order to get the screen time. That's why she's on the show. She's not on the show for love because, as we have heard, she had a relationship coming into this, no different than Trevor and fucking Jeremy. These fucking people. I can't. Anyway. And Nick goes on his high horse about this too in a minute, but then Chelsea says, every time I see you though, Jeremy, you're broken up with her. So like, what the fuck? So apparently, in order to fix their fucking relationship, these fucking fools decided, let's move in together. Maybe that'll help her relationship. Oh my God. Like, no, that's not going to help your relationship. How's that going to help your relationship? Those are like dum-dums who think, let's have kids because it's going to make us be even closer. Well, no, it's not. Like, that's going to be them. They're going to literally say, let's have kids because that's going to make us be so much closer. Like, let's move in together, share fucking finances with each other, and hopefully that makes us stronger. I guess what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but there we go. So that's what they've done. Vanessa is kind of just throwing shots at Jeremy at this point, and Sarah Ann. And Laura just hopes that these fuckers would just apologize for what they did, and they have not done that. They are coming at her like she did something wrong. And that's true, they are. But that's narcissists for you. Narcissists cannot accept accountability for anything. They don't think they do anything wrong. And they go after the person for whom they fucked over. And in this case, it's Laura. And Sarah Ann says she didn't mean to hurt Laura in the process of, like, you know, wrecking a home, basically, but that's exactly what she did. Laura is now dating someone, though, so she's good. She's fine. Fuck y'all. Like, that's basically what she's trying to say. But she says, before I leave, though, because she's going to leave, I guess, like, Barcelona's, like, on some crazy, you know, she's probably a week late or some shit. But just before I leave, I do want to clear up one thing. The bean dip of it all. And she does say, listen, it was a joke. I meant nothing by it. I love AD. I didn't mean to make her uncomfortable. Jeremy was not supposed to open his fucking big mouth and say anything about her, like, about this. You know, I apologize for my part in that, though. And Jeremy also apologizes for putting it out there and says, like, now it's a Googleable. It's a, fine, I just created a new word. It's a Googleable term. And he hates that. He hates that it's something that people can now just Google, and there it is. And his face is probably attached to it too, so there you go. You'll forever live on. Okay, we've talked for half an hour almost about, well, over half an hour now about these people. Let's move on to talk about some Trevor of it all. So there we go. Let's keep ranting, guys. Trevor's here. Well, let's talk about your bullshit now, sir. Let's do this. What about that girlfriend that you were texting before you started filming in the pods, and then the girlfriend you text after you left the pods? Let's talk about her. So we got receipts, y'all. We got receipts. Nick says, we know you text her. And guess what, fucker? We got the receipts. So let's get into that. Because guys, this is me. Of course, I wrote them down. So we got Trevor saying, I love you so much, honey. I'm excited for it, but more excited to get back to you after and start our life together. And he says, did you get my text? Girlfriend, did you land? Trevor, just did. And after he left the pods, before he was in the pods now, after he left the pods, get into that now. Trevor says, do you still love me? Girlfriend says, pumpkin? I'm crying. And Trevor says, can I call you in 30 minutes? Girlfriend says, I missed you so much. Trevor says, I love you more than anything in this world. And I'm going to marry you. Yes. Call me. I can't wait. Trevor, I hope you know how much I love you. And I had to pretend that this wasn't real life to say anything that I said. Girlfriend, it's okay, pumpkin. Well, that's it. That's the little text messages. Okay, so Chelsea is pissed. Understandably. Everyone is pissed, including us, the viewer. And he says, in response to all of this, he says, and that's his silence. That is his silence. He has this just and silence. So 80 says, nah. Say it with your chest, y'all. Say it with your chest. Don't get quiet now. It's so true. He says, I had a whole thing planned to say, but God, I don't know. Um, I don't know. I guess I'll start by saying, she wasn't actually my girlfriend. We were just close. So you were fuck buddies, is what you're trying to say? Bullshit, dude. Bullshit. Listen, I had a fuck buddy too in my life. Okay. I wasn't telling him I loved him, or nor was he telling me he loved me. Try again. Try again. Oh my God. He says, she would typically be who I would go for in real life, but I went into this to try something different, you know? It's fucked up. I know, but I wanted to find someone. Nick says, but sir, you were telling her that you loved her, so I'm fucking confused because I'm a man, you're a man. I've never told anyone who I didn't love or who I wasn't married to that, that I love them. I told, I tell Vanessa that I love her. I told Jessica that I loved her. I wasn't telling the girl that I found in like I don't know, a groupie or something. I wasn't telling a groupie that I loved her. Like, what the fuck? And um Nick says, this is unfair to everyone, especially Chelsea. And all that Trevor can say in this is that it was toxic. The whole thing was toxic. He was toxic. He wasn't doing good. He wasn't doing well, bitch. So then why did you come on here knowing you weren't doing good? He's like, I need therapy. Well, that's for damn sure. Chelsea says, I had an intuition to not pick you and I didn't understand why, but now I do. Now I do. Oh my God, can you imagine if she picked Trevor after all of this? She would be like, what? You're concerned that Jimmy was fucking some girl who he's now friends with or whatever, but you're concerned that he fucked some girl like way before he knew you, way before he was on this process probably. Can you imagine how she would have handled Trevor having a whole ass girlfriend? Oh, Jesus Christ. Brittany comes in out of the woodwork here and says, it was disrespectful to everyone, especially to Chelsea as well. We were all here for the right reasons, and you, sir, were not. And she also says what I think I've also said before too, when I first heard about this from Sharon, is your girl being perfectly okay with all of this is questionable, but whatever. He says, I was fucked up when when it didn't work out with Chelsea, trying to basically say like this was real for him. So he was real fucked up when it didn't work with her and whatever. Like this was real for me, and he's like, even ask Johnny, even say to him, like, he saw me after the breakup. I was a fucking wreck. And you right, Johnny? And Johnny's like, yeah, he was. And he's like, y'all trust Johnny though. You may not trust me, but you trust Johnny. That's true. I do trust Johnny. So I believe that then, because Johnny has cooperated it. And then Amy asked, well, were you upset about Chelsea not working out, or were you upset that you weren't going to be on the show? Damn, Amy. Where'd you come from? Trevor says, I cared about Chelsea. I don't give a shit about being on the show. Honestly, can I just leave now? Can I go? I hate it here. Trevor says to Chelsea, listen, the only thing I do want to say is anything that you need from me to confirm that this was real for me, confirm that I was here for the right reasons, anything you need, I will give that to you. He's like, I don't owe anything else to anybody here on the stage. I don't owe fucking shit to anybody over social media, but I do owe it to you. So anything you need from me, I will gladly give it to you. And Chelsea says, I appreciate you. That's code for fuck you, sir. I'm good. Good for you, Chelsea. I'll give you that. The Nick says, well, you know what? He kind of goes on his tangent and says, listen, which I didn't talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it now. Nick goes off on a tangent and basically says, listen, this is a real thing for us. We believe in this fucking process, and we want people here who actually want to find fucking love. So for those fucking people who are coming onto this show because they want clout or they want to entertain people, whatever, fuck you and fuck your mother. Like you're all just like wasting everybody's fucking time. So you, Trevor, sir, you clearly came here for a fucking reason, and you're not being honest about what the fucking reason is. So you're fucking up with our process. Sarah Ann, bitch, your little fucking video of a minute ago about how, we're just trying to entertain you guys and we're doing it. Oh my God, like whatever. Like you're fucking with our process here. We actually really care about these people finding love. You're fucking with our process. We don't want clout chasers or social media influencers on our fucking show. Take note, Matt Sharp. Right? And I hear what he's saying. He's right. So basically with that, he says, Trevor, you said you wanted to leave, right? There's the fucking door. Get the fuck out. Bye, Trevor. So, Jesus. So good. So good. We are going to take a break here. We still have so much to talk about. We still have to talk about Clay and AD. We have to talk about Chelsea and Jimmy. We have, Johnny and Amy in there too, but it's not going to be a whole lot in there. We have some things we're going to sprinkle in there. But we still have so much to talk about. We've already talked 45 or so minutes at this point. But what I am going to say before we go off, I'm going to say this now. The looks of everybody on the stage. Now, I can't remember. Actually, I actually really liked Vanessa's dress. Actually liked it. I didn't hate it. Anyway, AD looked bomb. She looked incredible. We didn't really get to see Laura's dress too much, obviously. I hate to say it, but Sarah looked great as well. Sarah Ann looked great. Jessica looked amazing as well. Both of them kind of had like the high slit, kind of simple colored dress. It was great. They looked great. I didn't hate the color that Amy chose. I'm just not sure about the sparkly aspect of it. But the color really did bring her, like really flattered her. To me anyways, I felt it was good for her complexion. So I didn't hate the color. I just hated the dress and the sparkly aspect of it. Who else? I thought Brittany looked fucking incredible. She looked amazing. So the whole thing, the hair, the dress, she looked incredible. So thumbs up for that. Chelsea. Chelsea. What the fuck? What's she wearing? It was like shoulder, like fuzzy shoulder pads. It was the weirdest fucking choice that I've ever seen anyone make. She looked horrible. She's a beautiful girl, Chelsea, and she has a banging body. Pick something better than what the fuck you picked. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it was horrible. Not bad choice. The men, honestly, I can't remember what the men look like. Well, okay, actually, that's a lie. Jeremy with the Hawaiian shirt, fuck off. Okay? Fuck off. Like, if you're that concerned about wearing a fucking Hawaiian shirt to piss off your ex-fiance, then you need help. Like, and it just doesn't go well with a fucking suit, you fucking dingbat. Like, I can't. I thought Clay looked okay. He looked good. Johnny looked fine too. I can't remember if anyone had like any ill-fitting suits or anything like that. Kenneth was okay, whatever. Wasn't anything to go home about. I can't remember what Jimmy looked like. Sorry, I can't remember. But anyways, I also want to point out, because I always have to point this out because I think Gigi's style is incredible. Gigi looked fucking incredible. She looked great. So there's that. I think I remember Tiffany, what she was wearing for the most part. She looked great. I'm surprised. Maybe I just don't remember, but was Chelsea wearing pink? because I I can't remember if she was wearing pink or not. But nonetheless, she probably was. I just don't remember. Um, so I can really remember, honestly, from who was there. Um, so yeah, we figured we'd just do the looks now, get that over with, and then we'll hop into the rest of the reunion when we come back. And I am back. So let's get in with AD and Clay. So they didn't talk for a while after the rejection heard around the world. Clay said, he felt like the biggest dick saying no to her. He even apologized to her family for letting her down and not marrying her. Clay tells Nick that he would have maybe done things a little differently. Well, he kind of says like he always got in his own way when, it probably came to relationships, and AD really tried to help him through that by being a support system for him. But he said that, she is the love of his life. And her face, when he says this, is clearly of a woman who just doesn't want to hear it now. And probably thinks it's too late at this point. But it still can just devastate you when you hear something like that. The one thing that she just clearly did not want to hear, she says. I think I said that actually, no, she didn't say that. He has been in therapy, so that's good. He's getting the help that he needs. He said he did make mistakes. And AD says this just takes her back to day one of falling in love with him. And she says, what do I do with that information? And that's very fair. I have said the same thing to people who have said the same thing to me. And I'm like, what do you want me to do with that information now? Because when it mattered, you weren't there. And when it now doesn't matter, and now I'm not there. So what do you want me to do with that? Vanessa asks, would you date him again? And AD simply says, next question. Clay, would you though? Would you date her again? And he says 100%. And she says, but you had your chance. Respectfully, you played me to my face because you knew you didn't want to get married. Well, I hear her on that 100%. I get it. He definitely knew he didn't want to get married, and he still went through this motion to just ultimately not marry her at the end. But AD, you also knew that maybe this man was not ready to be married. He told you, and you still decided that you wanted to continue on with this. You were the person who said, if you see red flags with somebody, you paint your nails to match. So stop it with the bullshit that you weren't prepared for this or something, or you were blindsided by this or something. You weren't. You knew, because he told you. That's the one thing I have to give him, is he said this to you flat in your fucking face, and you chose to ignore it. So I hope, obviously I hate her pain, and I understand her pain, but at the same time, it's like, I really hope she takes this as a lesson and knows not what to do going forward. Because there's going to be someone out there for her, because if she's constantly with men that she's basically fixing, because she classifies herself as a fix-a-hoe, then, and obviously them not staying with you so you can reap those benefits of them fixing themselves, then something needs to change within the men you are choosing. Because Clay is not the first, and he's probably not going to be the last. So, He says, that's not true. And she says, then why didn't you marry me? He says he wanted to say yes, and he honestly felt like he was going to say yes. Watching her walk down that aisle, whatever, he felt like he was going to say yes, which I call bullshit on personally, but he said he was going to say yes to her up until they started talking about the vows and all of that and whatever, and it was at that point in time that he was questioning whether or not he wanted to actually go through with this. He felt like the weight of it. He gets very emotional, feeling that she doesn't believe him when it comes to his feelings for her. He says that he wanted to be a better man. And he's crying. He's straight up crying. And honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I'm crying too, watching him have emotion here. Not because, oh, thank God I see a man have emotion. It's not about. It's not about that. It's about the fact that he is recognizing that there is a problem that goes far beyond his ability to fix, far beyond the ability for AD to fix. And he seemed very apologetic to her in the sense that I had things I needed to fix, and it wasn't up to you to fix them for me. So I have, like, honestly, I never thought Clay was a bad guy. I wasn't sure initially, I'll admit, but ultimately as time went on, I didn't think he was a bad guy. I didn't even necessarily, I mean, I know I called him a narcissist at one point, but you know what? I'm taking that back. I don't think he's a narcissist. His father is. But I don't think he's a narcissist. I think he is broken. I think that, and I hate to use the term broken, but he is a broken man that unfortunately has been broken far beyond his control and far beyond anything that he had control over. He didn't have control over what his father was doing and what his father did. He didn't have that control. And to see literally your parents' relationship falling apart and honestly being witness to some of the decisions his father made, that's no wonder he has a skewed view on marriage. Not so much relationships, which I think he does struggle with relationships in general, but the idea of marriage, the institution of marriage, he struggles. And as long as he's getting the help to work through that, maybe he never gets married in his future, and that's fine. Whatever, everyone's choice in terms of getting married is their choice. But maybe he never gets married, but as long as he can better himself for the future and, you know, be perfect, whatever perfect means for him, for someone, if that's not AD, that's great, but if it's somebody else, fine. If he's able to do that, then that's great, and I commend him for doing that, for doing the work that he needs to do. But doing it has to be only for him, and I think it is. Like, I don't question that. So I think he is doing it for him, but I hope he also isn't doing it to win AD back, because that is something he may never be able to do. And honestly, I don't know if AD should ever accept him again like that. I just don't. So then it's asked of Clay, like, how did he feel about the conversation between his mom and his dad? This is also asked of AD as well, but honestly, I respect AD's views on this, but honestly, this is for Clay to answer, and I kind of cared more about how he felt about it. He said it was tough. And, he talks about, seeing that coming from a broken home, which I can emphasize with also coming from a broken home, but also not feeling it to that extent because I was very young. But I understand him, what he's saying here, that being a black man coming from a broken home is not easy. Being a black man coming from a broken home under the situation of his father being a dog, is also not easy. Those are my words, not his. He's not a bad thing to say about his father. Really. Honestly, I feel like he makes excuses for his father, but I think that's something he still needs to work through. But one of the questions that is asked of him too is whether or not his father actually apologized to him as his mother requested him to do. And not AD Clay in this moment, this is where I say he kind of made an excuse for his father, kind of says that, listen, my dad was a good dad. No, he wasn't. Maybe to, in terms of being always present and being there to support his children financially or emotionally or mentally to some extent. Yes, maybe he was a great father. But for a father to take their child onto his let me cheat on their mother trips is not being a great father. I'm sorry, but that's something that should cancel itself out. The thing is that you can appreciate your father for who he was in your life, but you can also hold him accountable for the things that he did, not only to you, but then ultimately to your mother. Like, you can do both, right? And that's what I feel like Clay isn't doing, or maybe he's afraid to do. I don't know. But he says, like, his father was a great father. He doesn't want to take that from him, basically. And he says, like, him and his father have a great relationship in terms of being able to banter, joke with each other and that kind of thing, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But he says that, he's apologized in his way. So basically what he's trying to say here is, like, for example, basically what that tells me is he hasn't apologized. He hasn't used the words, Clay, I am sorry for what I've done to you, what I've put you through. He hasn't done that. Instead, what he's doing is using, kind of similarly to his speech to his son before the wedding, kind of like, I was the track star and I was this and I raced you and the day you beat me, like, oh my God, like that's kind of what he's doing. Probably in terms of apologizing. So this is basically what he's doing. Imagine. He's probably saying to his son, listen, you're a better man than I am, which is what he said to him too. And, you're going to probably be a better husband one day than I am. And, yeah, sure, this didn't work out with AD and, I feel for you. I feel for that. And, you'll do better next time. That's basically like the idea is probably what he's doing, and Clay is considering that an apology. As far as I'm concerned, unless the man sits you down and says, I fucked up, I acknowledge that, I broke our family, I brought you on trips and put you in a position that you didn't feel like you could go to your mother and say anything, I put you through that and I am so sorry. I have skewed your views on relationships and being able to be loyal to somebody and be faithful to somebody because for fuck's sakes, I wasn't faithful to your mother. I apologize for my role in your struggles in your adult life when it comes to relationships and the institution of marriage. I apologize for my role in that. Unless he's saying that, it's not a fucking apology. As far as I'm concerned, his father owes him that. And I feel for Clay that he hasn't gotten that and thinks whatever bullshit his father has said to him is adequate. And it's not. But, so then we kind of move on a little bit to Clay. You mentioned watching, because he says he's never watched Love is Blind before being on the show. And he says, if you all remember, he made a comment about how he was watching Love is Blind and he sees the men on Love is Blind, and how like that person is being a great husband and that's kind of what he should be. That's what he should be kind of at that point with AD. And, we're kind of, it never crossed my mind as to who he, like, was he talking about a particular person? I figured he was just kind of talking the grand scheme of things. But it is asked of him, Clay, who were you referring to when you said that to AD? And he says, Brett. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. And the thing is like for me, when it comes to Brett and the kind of man he is, he's the kind of man that like I'm in a great relationship, and I love my boyfriend, and he's I've seen his journey from being a clay, because I've known this man for a very long time. And that's why I say, like, I don't want to shit on Clay, because I know it's possible for him to be the greatest man for somebody. It's very possible. He just has to allow himself to be there. But I've seen my boyfriend go from a Clay to being just mere moments away of being a Brett. And that's honestly what I want. I want a man who is like a Brett. And this is the way that, not even so much how he treats Tiffany, though that is amazing, but just how he is as a person. Just from what we've seen, he seems so authentic, and he doesn't hurt the eyes either. So it's just like, he is exactly the kind of person that I feel like every woman should try to strive for. And unfortunately, there's not many of them. And what I would want my daughters in the future to have as their partner in the future too. So when he said Brett, I'm like, fuck yes. That is exactly what I feel. I felt that. And Brett says, well, that's really humbling. And he says, the reason being is I didn't really come from the best home either. And he wasn't sure whether or not he could have done this either. If he could have been a great husband to Tiffany, or even just show up, in the ways that he needs to as her husband. But he said, Tiffany gave me the space in order to do it. And that is, I know he's not saying that to be a hit at AD. I think, unfortunately, AD was in a place in life that she gives too much space. And honestly, she's not where she needs to be in herself to give that space to somebody, but yet still not compromise herself. Whereas I feel like Tiffany, for the most part, was in a place where she was ready to receive a man in her life and be someone's wife. And she would never have compromised herself for Brett. And he would never have allowed her to do that. There's this give and take that I think, unfortunately, both Clay and AD are just not at yet. But Tiffany also says, he's doing more than all right as a husband, so they're fine. Okay, so let's move on to Johnny and Amy. Not much to say here. We got a little bit of a highlight. They're cute. They traveled. They haven't had a huge fight or anything. They talk things out. The end. Moving on. We got viewers' questions. And viewer questions are going to kind of help us into segueing into the other places that we need to go and with the people here. So I'm not going to be talking every single viewer question that is asked here, but our former peeps are going to be reading the former questions. So one of the questions is, and this is towards Johnny and Amy, I'm confused. Were condoms not an option or something? Like, what the fuck? And they say, well, yeah, no, it was an option. But Johnny admits that he didn't really have much of an understanding when it came to birth control. He kind of just figured that all women were on birth control, which we saw. And he just didn't understand that, sometimes not every woman is able to be on birth control or even wants to be on birth control for any reason whatsoever, right? And he says, they talked it out. They, went off into their corners, did their research and everything, came back, and they did figure out a solution. Ultimately, though, Amy is not on birth control. I remember Sharon mentioned that she is not. She's not on birth control. And she didn't want to be on birth control. Maybe medically also just wasn't really an option for her, because I know she's dealing with something as well, besides that. And it just wasn't an option for them. So, but they have obviously figured it out. They're together a year, and a year is a really long time to not have sex. So clearly they figured something out. And no, he did not have a vasectomy. Chelsea What did you think about the conversation between Laura and Jessica with regards to Jimmy? Chelsea felt that it was inappropriate. And Jessica agrees with this. She has no reason to say otherwise. She's like, it was disrespectful. I did apologize. Her and Chelsea are close. Like, she's met her daughter. Like, they're fine. Jimmy, what did your friend think about the secret being revealed? And Jimmy basically says she didn't like it. She felt betrayed and she's pissed. And you know what? I get it. I mean, for me personally, I don't give a shit. But for some people, for some women especially, it wouldn't be fun to kind of have your shit aired like that on television. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily want my shit aired on television, but I wouldn't necessarily want my shit aired on television that I had sex with him. Maybe it was a moment of, just, not, maybe they were drinking, maybe there was, whatever, maybe they were friends with benefits. We don't know. But whatever the reason may be, like, it's not great. I think also there was another podcaster that mentioned, I think it was Cray Cray, but I didn't even think about this, but this is also very true. What if she cheated on a boyfriend with Jimmy? There's also that aspect of it too. So, yeah, it's not great. He's like, I told Chelsea in confidence, and shouldn't have been aired on camera. And Nick asks, well, what does everybody else think about this? Like, and I think it was Jeremy said, yes, wasn't great that she said what she said and aired shit out, but if it was bothering her that much, then she should have been able to talk about it freely. And that is very understandable. I do agree in the grand scheme of things. Yes, clearly this was bothering her and she needed to get it out, but you could have gotten it out when there was no cameras there. And you could have talked freely with him when there was no cameras there to film you. And basically, I think it was asked of Jimmy, like, was this kind of the defining moment for Jimmy? In terms of, like, was this maybe the catalyst that led him to not go through with this? And he says, yeah, it was. And he's like, even watching back, he can tell that he was going through the motions after that. So we'll get a little more information about maybe where Chelsea was at when this came out a little later. So let's move on. Jessica says it was never going to work between her and Jimmy. She knows that now. It's not a big deal and whatever. And Jimmy agrees. And she's like, it felt more like a friendship than something that was more romantic. Chelsea looks like she particularly needed an EpiPen when Jimmy said that, Jessica's gorgeous. She's stunning and, not blind. Look like she wanted to fucking die. And Jessica says, I am friends with Chelsea. And honestly, I thought I was friends with Jimmy. And now we're all very confused. Like, what do you mean? What's going on? Well, Jessica explains that he recently did an interview where it kind of pissed her off a little bit because maybe he's kind of spewing some false news about her. And she felt he took kind of the opportunity to throw her under the bus. And the main thing I think that we're kind of arguing about here is he mentioned, I guess, in this interview that she kind of ran out of the date after like 10 minutes and didn't really give him a chance or anything like that. And she says, like, that's not true. Like, I didn't run out of the date after 10 minutes. We did the date for like an hour and a half. And I did ask you for a break for which you agreed. And she's like, did you not want me to leave? And he says, no, I didn't want you to leave. And then why didn't you tell her that? You know, she's not a mind reader. She doesn't even know what the fuck you looked like. You could have just fucking told her, you know, that you really didn't want her to leave. He just felt that, you know, due to the tone of her voice, that he felt like he couldn't tell her otherwise. So you're scared of her. So you're intimidated by her. Just own that. Because as far as I'm concerned, because we'll get to it. As far as I'm concerned, yes, maybe her tone was maybe feeling irritated, maybe being exhausted, all of that. But that doesn't change the fact that you could have spoken up and told her, don't leave. You know, because I don't want that. I want to try to figure this out. But you clearly didn't want to figure this out, and instead you took the quote-unquote easy route until you realized that wasn't the easy route either. But, yeah. So, he's like, you know, why? And then, again, yeah, and then this. We started arguing about, like, the fact that she wasn't telling him how she felt about him, and how she wanted him to do that, and she, you know, he's like, well, why did I have to tell you how I felt about you first? Like, why did I have to do that? Well, if you want to take the roots of, you know, the man leads, then the man's the one that tells the person first. But then if you add the whole experiment to the mix of it, then, sir, you're the one that had two women for which you were choosing between. Now, we do now know that Jessica also had two different people that she was also choosing between, but in the telling back of this, the editing has now shown us is that there was no other person for Jessica. It was just Jessica and Chelsea for which Jimmy was choosing between. Chelsea had someone she was choosing between as well, but for Jimmy, it was just those two people. So yeah, you're the fucking one that needs to tell her how you feel. I don't blame her. And she also says that she took offense to him saying that she got the edit she deserved. So apparently he said that too in this interview. And she took such offense to this because she's like, what the fuck does that mean? It basically is trying to mean like you want me to look bad. But this was real fucking life to her. She actually had fucking feelings for this guy. And she's like, what the fuck does that even mean? That I got the edit that I deserved. But then we're still kind of on this topic of how long was she in the date before she walked out, quote unquote. And Jessica's like, fucking show the receipts. I know you got them. We all saw the third season when you showed that Zenab was a biatch and actually wasn't fat shamed by Cole. So I know y'all have had the fucking receipts, so show me the fucking receipts. Well, then we get the receipts. So, how long were they in this date for real? So, 1 hour and 23 minutes into the date, Jimmy asks, can we take a quick break? Which we did see this. We did see this in the edit, right? But we didn't see, obviously, how long they were in the date for. But we did see this. So, it was an hour, almost an hour and a half. He asked for a quick break. And he leaves, and she leaves, and 8 minutes later, we saw this as well. She comes back and he comes back and whatever. So 50 minutes later, this is where she says, I'm not leaving, but this is feeling forced at the moment, and that's not us. So I think we should leave it alone for tonight, or for right now. And he says that he's good with that. And she says, I want you to have the clarity you need. So do what you gotta do, figure out where you want to go. And he thanks her for being understanding with this. Ultimately, the total time of this fucking date was 2 hours and 13 minutes. So not 10 minutes like he is trying to say in his interview. Such bullshit. Now that we've cleared that up, let's go to another thing that we need to clear up, the Megan Fox of it all. She says she regrets it. She's regretful. Whatever. She doesn't look like Megan Fox. The end. Brittany and Kenneth. They basically just say that they are content with not trying to, they were content with not trying to have sex. They've promised this to each other, to themselves, to God. So they are perfectly fine with that. As for the breakup, he does kind of say, I get that people thought I was maybe cold or didn't care and whatever. And he says, I did care. But there's also been rumors, Jessica kind of cleared up, saying that this was a reenactment as well. So yeah, we didn't get the true authentic breakup. We got a reenactment of the breakup. So, but nonetheless, today they are friends. They're very close. They talk every day, so they're good. Colleen and Matt live together now, so that's great. The end. Now, where the fuck is Matthew? Matthew is not fucking here. He declined. I thought you wanted to come back out as the underdog, sir. I thought you wanted the great edit. What the fuck? Why aren't you here to vent for yourself? But anyways. But we do got them receipts too, on whether or not he said the same thing to AD and Amber. And basically, we watch this back. We see him with both Amber and both AD. And AD does say, well, fuck yeah, he told us the same fucking thing. What the fuck? It sounds like he had the script, honestly. And, you know, the whole thing, the script, the dad not feeling right without proposing, without talking to the dad. I would leave here with you. All of this shit, like, it's so bullshit. But despite that all being complete, utter shit, doesn't AD reconnect with Matthew after all of this? What the fuck? Why the fuck? I don't get it. And Clay did know, but he does look like he wants to kill somebody, but he did know about all of this. AD went on 2 dates with Matthew. Technically, the first date was for him to apologize to her for, not being maybe authentic and saying the same thing to both AD and Amber. And she said the second date was basically him, like, cooking for her. And she's like, I thought he was cute, honestly, so, whatever. It didn't go anywhere, though. They both wanted kind of different things, so it just naturally died out from there. So, at least there's that. So then we kind of quickly screwed over to, like, we don't fucking already know that Chelsea works for Love is Blind and that she's part of the casting process. And with this, she's able to actually maybe have more of a nomadic lifestyle like Kwame wanted. So there is that. Moving on. Then we move on to the Perfect Match announcement, which I believe, talk about in another episode as well. We have Perfect Match coming. We got Izzy's going to be on there. We got Micah's going to be on there. Jessica's going to be on there. I have the picture that I will post, like I said I would, of them after the fact of the announcement. And I did say that I was going to be covering the Perfect Match. Yay. Moving on. Oh yeah, before we do, let's remember also Izzy did fix his credit. Boom. Let's move on. Clay also did not warm up Gatorade. He wants to clear that up for everybody. So that happened. So I realized I didn't write this down, but I also want to talk about, because I thought I did, but I didn't. Just to go back to Jimmy and Chelsea very quickly. I realized that I said, we're going to go more to this, and I didn't write it down. But basically, she also wanted to say, too, when it came to the whole situation of kind of airing out this dirty little secret, that she also says that, listen, I didn't even know when the cameras were there. I just let this shit out, completely forgot that they were there fucking filming. Girl, you were drunk. That's probably why you fucking forgot. But nonetheless, that's a wrap on season 6 of Love is Blind. This was a great season. This was chef's kiss. It was so good. In comparison to the season that we all want to forget, it was such a good season. It was a really good season. I really enjoyed this. It was great. So I guess the next thing that we're going to get is Perfect Match. And I imagine after Perfect Match, we're probably going to get After the Altar. And then after the Altar, probably going to scoot on over to season 7 of Love is Blind. So until then, though, that is it. But don't forget, never ever forget that love truly is blind. Even if you need to ask your girl whether or not you can pick her up at a music festival, or even if you catch feelings, even if you might still not marry her if she looked like a dog. But that's it for now, guys, on that. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. Every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube, and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks.